Hello, this is Uncle Vakker-Sal, and today I am trying to compile few slides to get you familiar with salmon and trout, the fish we normally found in the supermarket. Salmon and trout are normally living in cold water temperature, either in North Atlantic or Pacific Ocean. Salmon and trout belong to the same Salmonidae family. For those live in North Atlantic has genus started with Salmo, while those living in Pacific Ocean will have genus Oncorhynchus. In North Atlantic, we have Atlantic salmon, or more known as Salmo salar. We have few species of trout living in North Atlantic: Adriatic trout, brown trout, flathead trout, marble trout, ord trout and Sevon trout. Pacific Ocean is a normal habitat of Oncorhynchus salmon. We have humpback or pink salmon, chum salmon also known as dog salmon or keta, coho salmon or silver salmon, masu salmon or cherry salmon, sockeye salmon or red salmon, and chinook or king salmon. As for trout in Pacific Ocean, we have biwa trout, cutthroat trout, gila trout, rainbow trout and Mexican golden trout. The life cycle of salmon normally starts from the river, when eggs are fertilized and grown into young salmon. Young salmon fish live in the river until they are ready to migrate to the open ocean. It takes for up to 5 years before adult salmon become sexually mature and return to their natal streams to spawn. Prior to spawning, salmon undergo some physical changes, depending on each type: growing hump, develop canine-like teeth, develop a curvature jaws in male salmon, and even change to a darker color. Mature Pacific salmon will die within few days or weeks of spawning, while only small percentage of Atlantic salmon may survive to spawn again. Different from salmon, trout can be categorized as lake trout and coastal trout. Lake trout normally live in freshwater lakes and rivers exclusively at very cool temperature 10 to 16 degrees Celsius. Lake trout do not migrate. Coastal trout can spend 2 or 3 years at sea before returning to freshwater to spawn, like salmon. Wild trout have more vivid colors and patterns, but those are about to breed have extremely intense coloration. Trout normally do not die after spawning. They can spawn many times. After spawning, adult trout will return to the open sea. Survived young coastal trout will return to the open ocean once they are ready to migrate. Now, let's see for those living in North Atlantic, how they look like. Do they look like what you thought before? Salmon Atlantic, also known as Salmo salar. Look, this salmon can produce the highest energy for the same amount of serving, compared to other salmon and trout. At this stage, I have no nutrition facts for individual trout, so here is the general nutrition facts for mixed trout species. Adriatic trout or Salmo obtusirostris. Brown trout also known as Salmo trutta. Flathead trout or Salmo platycephalus. Marble trout also known as Salmo marmoratus. Ord trout or Salmo letnica. Sevon trout known as Salmo aishan. We saw few species from Atlantic Ocean, now let's see salmon and trout from the Pacific Ocean. Pink salmon or Oncorhynchus scorbusha. Look at the hump. Now we clearly understand why this is also known as humpback salmon. Chum salmon are called dog salmon in Canada. Its scientific name is Oncorhynchus keta. This species is relatively more abundant than other salmon. Coho salmon or silver salmon. Oncorhynchus kisuch. Masu salmon or cherry salmon. Oncorhynchus masu. Sockeye salmon/red salmon. Oncorhynchus nurka. Flashy red color flesh. Chinook salmon/king salmon. Oncorhynchus chata. Different from other salmon, Chinook species may have contrast ivory color flesh and normal salmon color. Biwa trout or Oncorhynchus masu rhodurus. Cutthroat trout or Oncorhynchus clarkii. Gilly trout or Oncorhynchus gilly. Rainbow trout also known as Oncorhynchus micus. Mexican golden trout. Oncorhynchus chrysogaster. We have seen those salmon and trout living in North Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. Salmon and trout are very nutritious and a good source of protein and energy. They are also rich of omega-3 EPA-DHA fatty acid, which are goods for pregnant woman and breastfeeding mother. The omega-3 has significant roles in developing brain, eyes, nerve development and immune system supports, especially in fetus. Hey, look at Salmon Atlantic. And we have reached to the end of the presentation. I do hope the preliminary information we shared just now could introduce you to salmon and trout, how they look like, how they breed, migrate and their different living habitat. Hey! Some of them can be found easily in our local supermarkets. Enjoy the fish as they are very nutritious. Thank you for watching. Till next time.